In this video, I want to talk about the DLC maps for Black Ops 6 Zombies. Yes, it's very early, but we already have a lot of information. Liberty Falls has just been announced, of course, and we've got an early gameplay of the map, and people are hating right now, saying that it has no atmosphere, it's too Warzone or multiplayer-ified. And whilst they do agree to an extent, we still have Terminus, another map that's a lot richer, has been described as one of the largest maps ever, with the most side quests ever. So whilst I understand your concerns, I think people are kind of overreacting when there's an experience for both types of fans, and Trek have actually announced that DLC 1 is going to be coming a lot earlier than expected. They've said that it's going to be releasing before the end of the year.
You know, what do you got in store for us and beyond that in the live seasons?
So what I could say is that the next map is going to be coming by the end of this year.
Oh!
And that is going to be
round-based zombies map.
really setting the tone for how all in round-based we are this year.
Yeah, that's quite significant.
Which means, of course, November or December. Now, I'm expecting it to probably release in December, considering, of course, probably the first week or second week of November is when Season 1 releases, so maybe in Season 1 Reloaded is when we're going to get the first Zombies map. But I hope those of you who are freaking out about the Liberty Falls gameplay can appreciate that there's another map coming soon after launch, and you have Terminus to enjoy, and considering it's got more side quests than ever, you know, we're still probably going to be solving Easter eggs a month, potentially two after release. There's going to be a lot to look forward to, like we did with Shadows of Evil back in the day. Now, there were some leaks before that stated that there are only going to be 4 DLC maps in Black Ops 6 Zombies. However, considering the fact that Trek have announced the first map is coming before the end of the year, makes me feel like maybe that leak was wrong. So I think, considering people are hating so much on Liberty Falls right now, it would be a good idea for them to announce, if they have more maps planned, for them to announce it. Now, I understand that potentially if they were to announce some maps but then they don't end up finishing some of them, they get cancelled due to budget constraints or something goes wrong, then it holds them legally accountable, and that is definitely true, and maybe that's why they're not going to announce it. But I'd like to hope that, considering Black Ops 6 Zombies has been in development for so long, that most of the DLC maps are pretty much wrapped up and they're just putting the finishing touches on it, especially when they're apparently working on COD 2025 Zombies as well. Now, in terms of the DLC maps itself, Liberty Falls is an extremely small map. Like I said, it's a simple map, an easy layout for everyone to jump in and enjoy. There's nothing convoluted about it at all. However, in all of the gameplay shots and images that were released before we got the gameplay, it was making it out like the map is way larger than meets the eye. I don't think we're going to leave Liberty Falls. I think we're going to get some more Liberty Falls DLC maps. I think it's very obvious because if we look at the early gameplay, there is one section that shows these giant towers in the distance of some sort of factory. I don't know if this is the nuclear power plant that Richtofen was talking about, a fake cover story in the intel of Cold War Zombies or what, but there is some sort of giant factory here in the distance, and all of the buildings seem textured in. It seems way too high quality for this to just be an in the distance thing. So I'm thinking that potentially this could be one DLC map. It's literally right there. It looks like you can just run out into it, but for some reason the game just stops you. There's a fence, you can't get there. And honestly, from this early gameplay, it really looks like an Outbreak experience, and that seems to be what people are complaining about right now. So I'm wondering if potentially Outbreak was going to happen, because Trek literally had a job listing saying they were working on Outbreak at some point, but we know, of course, they were then pulled off to work on Modern Warfare 3 Zombies. So I'm wondering if Outbreak was in development at some point, but then they had to do Modern Warfare 3 Zombies instead, and now we know, of course, they're just focusing on round-based for this game, and maybe Liberty Falls was going to be an Outbreak experience, and now we're seeing sections of that Outbreak experience as round-based experiences instead. And the fact the intel in Cold War Zombies stated that Richtofen was requesting to have a giant wall built around the town, and there is no wall present on the map at all, is definitely very peculiar. Most likely Trek were planning to have a wall on this map. I guess this is technically not a retcon. Probably he wanted to have a wall built, but in the in-game canon, he was just denied building permission. But this is kind of evidence as well that it was supposed to be an Outbreak experience, because there could have been a massive map with a giant wall surrounding the area that you were not able to escape from, and it also stops the zombies from spreading out further too. We see from the gameplay that it has an extremely open layout. We have these entire buildings we can explore, and there's grapples that you can traverse between the different buildings. It seems exactly like in Outbreak. Even the aesthetics look very similar to an Outbreak, so that's one potential map. Now the other is actually where Richtofen was in the intro cutscene. Literally see this giant mansion that looks absolutely beautiful, by the way, and it just seems way too detailed for this to just be, for a cutscene, a cinematic, and I think this is part of the reason why people are hating on the Liberty Falls gameplay, because the cinematic made it seem, you know, a lot larger, a lot more going on than meets the eye. So I'm wondering if this mansion could actually be another DLC map. Now, of course, Richtofen got teleported away somewhere, maybe into the Dark Ether by Sam or whatever. Is he still locked within the mansion? Has he been taken somewhere underground in the Dark Ether or somewhere else? I don't know, but either in the Easter egg in Liberty Falls or in the DLC, we're probably going to be trying to rescue him.
I've been holed up in the mansion since yesterday trying to organize a containment response.
So we actually know from Call of Duty's blog that this mansion is set on a hill that's above the town of Liberty Falls, so I'm sure it's going to come in the future. This is actually the main place where Richtofen was carrying out his Clandestine Project Janus organization from. This is his base of operations, so it's extremely, extremely important, and of course it has the elevator directly down underneath, so that's got to be a map in the future. I wonder if it could even be one map. For example, you know, you start off in the mansion, but then you can make your way underground through the elevators, or maybe they're separate maps, but I could see it all just being one map potentially, and Richtofen is now stuck somewhere in the Dark Ether underneath this hill, and Richtofen's had all of these elevators built in this massive mansion to go into his underground labs, and Richtofen's mansion is based on Lockwood House, a real-life mansion or manor inside of Harper's Ferry, what the map is based on. So you can see that it's definitely the mansion because it matches up with the real-life location as well, and you see from the real-life location that it's absolutely huge, so there is absolutely no way that this is just something that we access in the Easter egg. It's way too big, and just like the real-life location, it's sat atop the hill, and this is one of the oldest buildings in Harper's Ferry and has existed since the 1800s. Richtofen must be extremely rich in this universe as well to be able to afford this, as is base of operations for Janus, but of course the shareholders are funding it as well. So the goal of the Easter egg is we're going to be trying to rescue Richtofen from the house, but at the same time there are two scientists that are trapped.
Listen up. We've got 3 scientists unaccounted for, last seen in town. Locating and extracting them is now your top priority.
Now, in the intro cutscene, we did see one scientist get teleported away, which is probably Pericles Panos. So yes, it's very well possible that we will be trying to rescue Richtofen from the mansion in the Easter egg. Maybe we'll even go there in the Easter egg, but it's so large, I doubt it would just be a spot that we actually just teleport to or traverse to in the Easter egg, and they have textured in all this space just for that. Of course, the crew on Terminus are currently trying to locate his location.
Peck, Strauss, hold up in the guard station. I want Richtofen's coordinates.
They want revenge on him, but I wonder at some point if they'll empathize with him due to Weaver accidentally killing his family, and they may come together to fight off whatever evil lies beyond. And also we of course have the underground area as well, where we saw this giant containment chamber, whether it be Samantha Maxis, her AI, or the Forsaken, or some sort of merger of both. Regardless, we have this whole underground section, and we knew within Cold War Zombies intel that Richtofen was building giant tunnels underneath Liberty Falls. He was bringing in lots of metal, which I assume was to upgrade this giant containment chamber because it looks much bigger than the one we saw at the end of Cold War Zombies, and maybe for the factory that I mentioned before, he was bringing in scientists, custodians, etc. So again, we have this whole underground section. Surely this could even be a map. And what's more is, of course, we saw the Shadowsmiths take Ava at the end of Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, and they were in somewhere that looks exactly like Liberty Falls. In fact, it's definitely Liberty Falls because it seems to match up with the building that we got from one of the images, and it seems to be a giant building. So maybe this is the mansion where Richtofen actually lived and woke up in the intro cutscene. And if the Shadowsmiths have actually taken Ava there, is this also where they're keeping Richtofen? And I do wonder if this map was planned to be Outbreak, if maybe potentially next year with Call of Duty 2025, since Zombies is apparently back again by Treyarch, that we could actually see Outbreak on Liberty Falls again, especially because Ava is taken there in 2021/2022 in the future. It kind of sets up the perfect stage to see this as potentially an Outbreak experience, and potentially we see Liberty Falls again next year, being able to explore all of the zones uninterrupted, potentially in the Dark Ether as well, considering she gets sucked into the Dark Ether. Now Richtofen's also been taken, so maybe he ends up in the future as well, and Richtofen and Ava could both be playable in that future game. Maybe Samantha Maxis as well would be awesome if it's all in the Dark Ether. Now I definitely think we're going to see Outbreak on Avalon as well, considering that's the new Warzone map that's coming in the files of the game. It seems like that's going to be the case, which a lot of the multiplayer multiplayer maps in the game are based here on Avalon, and it was supposed to release in Warzone this year, but it's gotten delayed until next year. We're instead seeing Verdansk in spring of 2025. Maybe Verdansk could even come as an Outbreak experience. But yeah, apparently Outbreak will be back next year, whether that's on Avalon, Liberty Falls, Verdansk, or all of them even. Probably unlikely. Maybe even Area 99 would be cool, considering it's literally like a Zombies Nuketown map. And apparently we're also going to be seeing round-based again next year, so we're going to be seeing both, kind of like Cold War Zombies, whereas this year it's just focusing on round-based. And whilst Richtofen was carrying out the main operations from the mansion, there are voice lines from Blanchard during exfilling in the game that mentions exfilling to the HQ, so there seems to be a Project Janus headquarters somewhere. I assume it's probably not one and the same as the mansion, because why would they just exfil to go up to the mansion where Richtofen apparently is? And there's probably zombies there as well, like we saw in the intro, so there's probably a separate headquarters somewhere. Maybe that could even be a zombies map that we could see. I wonder if it's even the factory that we see with all of these giant towers, or maybe that's just something separate. But yeah, wherever the headquarters is, it has probably a good chance of being a map in the future. So in the intro cutscene, Richtofen requests to Blanchard, his Janus security detail, to call in the elite unit to, of course, close down the outbreak.
Call in response teams. Get Liberty Falls locked down. Copy?
Copy.
However, we have learned information about who the elite unit are the operators were playing on this map. As contrastingly to what we thought was going to happen, they are not sent there by Richtofen, and they are not Project Janus operators.
I don't think this is how we expected to find Richtofen, and it's a bit of a change of expectations. We're not going to give anything away right now.
Okay.
But we're really just setting the groundwork for the game in this cinematic. Right. So we actually got introduced to our handler in the cinematic, John Blanchard, and he's the head of Janus Security.
Okay.
You know, Richtofen told him, lock it down, try to protect Liberty Falls. As we see here, they didn't really succeed. So you enter as an outside group, and he mistakes you as part of Project Janus. So he starts to team up with you and guide you along to try to salvage the situation, see if anyone's still alive, figure out what's going on, really just try to contain.
But you said that he assumes that you are a part of the group.
So you might not be.
It might not be.
Oh.
TBD.
Yeah. Okay, all right. That is, I'm quite curious to see how that story plays out with there, but that's going to be pretty damn cool.
We've learned that Blanchard does call for the Janus operators to come to the map. However, the actual people that turn up are not Janus operators. They are some other group entirely, and Blanchard mistakes them for being the Janus operators. So this is going to be very important for the Easter egg, because at some point, Blanchard is probably going to realize that this elite unit are actually imposters, and it begs the question, why did the actual Janus operators not come here? Who put a stop to them coming? B, who exactly is this group? Is it a brand new group that we haven't been introduced to yet that might have actually been sabotaging Richtofen the entire time, leading to the events that caused the outbreak on Liberty Falls itself? Could it have even been members of the Societe Occult that we thought Richtofen was working for before, but maybe they are actually against him? Or could it even be higher-ups at Project Janus? We know uber-rich people are funding it, and maybe because Richtofen has been losing himself due to the trauma of his family perishing, that they no longer feel confident in him as the director, so purposefully sabotaged him.
Dr. Pericles Panos, Project Janus, Energy Research Division. It has become abundantly clear. Director Richtofen is slipping. If we fail, it will all be down to Richtofen and his hubris.
It does seem that the town was designed specifically to prepare for danger, to prepare for a zombie outbreak with all of these defenses in the buildings. And if this strike team are supposed to be stopping the outbreak, maybe they actually don't. Maybe they're intentionally making it worse, and it gets worse and worse throughout the DLC, causing it to expand, explaining why we get future zombies maps here. Or maybe they don't actually contribute to it, and it just gets worse throughout the content as Sam and this purple smoke get stronger. A cool idea, what if this group is actually sent by Pantheon, this mysterious organization from the campaign that's infiltrated the CIA and government even to the highest levels, and they plan on detonating weapons of mass destruction. Kind of a generic setup, but maybe they're also involved in zombies as well. Wouldn't that be a cool twist? And they're also sabotaging whatever Richtofen is up to with Janus. Maybe that's even how they get the weapons of mass destruction. They're actually zombies related. Regardless, whoever this elite unit is, they probably have a nefarious agenda. They are probably not good, and they are probably not working on Janice's side. And for this reason, Blanchard is of course going to be telling them to rescue Richtofen, but I think that they will fail, not intentionally, but because they purposefully don't want to rescue him. That is not why they are here on this map. They might be here to even make things worse, or they're just here for information, or for some other purpose. Regardless, they are not working for Janice. And that means whilst it might seem obvious that we're going to rescue Richtofen within the Easter egg, that would probably only happen if the correct people were actually sent to the map. I wonder if, as well, whoever this group is actually managed to break the strike team out of Black Site 13 after Richtofen had them arrested at the end of Cold War Zombies, because we don't see them on Terminus Island, so technically they might have actually been imprisoned somewhere else, or maybe they were only on Terminus temporarily. Maybe at some point some other group with an ulterior motive broke them out, and that's who we could be playing as in the map. And this could set up a really interesting dynamic within the DLC. I have a feeling that the Liberty Falls Easter egg might leave us on a cliffhanger where we're about to head to another section of the map, or maybe the Samantha Maxis AI containment chamber actually gets worse, the outbreak spreads, and we're left on a cliffhanger to leave us to another Liberty Falls map, and maybe the DLC will then jump back and forth between having the Terminus crew and playing as this elite unit on the map. We could go elsewhere in DLC 1, wherever the Terminus crew head next, then back to Liberty Falls, then to wherever they are next, and then maybe finally the Terminus crew make their way to Liberty Falls, and then they try and break out Richtofen himself. Because we also have to bear in mind, whilst the Terminus crew are trying to locate Richtofen, when they're trying to find his coordinates, they're quickly going to realize he's been taken and pulled into the Dark Ether, and they're probably going to come in communication with both Blanchard and probably whoever this elite unit actually are on the map. And that's going to be an interesting dynamic with whatever happens there. And if this elite unit that are sent in are actually against Richtofen, I wonder if they could actually be the one who requested to Samantha Maxis to have Richtofen assassinated, which Weaver carried out, accidentally resulting in the death of his family before the events of Cold War Zombies. Maybe they were the ones who did this. I don't know why, whether it was just because Richtofen had too much knowledge on the Dark Ether or for some other reason. Regardless, this could be the setup for that, because at this point in time, it's a massive mystery why Samantha Maxis and Weaver tried to assassinate him. We have no idea who gave the target, whether it was even Samantha herself. That's one of the big revelations that we still need to find out. Maybe we are going to be successful in rescuing the scientist, but I definitely don't think we're going to be successful in rescuing Richtofen. Maybe they'll only rescue the scientist initially to try and figure out what's going on, learn information from them, and also to trick Blanchard into thinking that they are still the Janus operators. Obviously, if they were to not rescue him, it would look extremely fishy. So yeah, whoever this group is going to be very important. I mean, theoretically, they might not even be against Richtofen or against Janus. They could be some other group, some other body, maybe some other group in the government even. I really have no idea who they would be if they are not against Janus, because again, someone must have stopped the actual Janus operators from coming here, so surely it's the group who stopped them so that they could take their place. It's all very peculiar. Whilst I was editing this video, I thought of another idea as well. What if this elite unit are sent by the Terminus crew? Peck and Maya obviously located them to break them out, and maybe Peck specifically has come in contact with this crew, and he's the one to send them in to try and find out where Richtofen is. But of course they turn up on the map and then find a zombie outbreak. Maybe they weren't even expecting it, and maybe this crew are the ones who are going to be communicating to Peck throughout the Easter egg, informing him of what's going on. I think this is actually a good idea. It makes sense how the Easter eggs are going to be happening simultaneously, because we might be communicating with each other through the Easter eggs, and this way there isn't some sort of nefarious group that's against Richtofen. It's just Peck and the rest of them wanting revenge, and they're trying to find his location, but they're quickly going to discover it's going to be much more difficult to track him down. So I could totally see us getting a few maps from where the Terminus crew are, close to where they are. Maybe after they get off the island, they go to the Philippines, they go to Japan, somewhere not too far away. We get a map there, then we get a map maybe somewhere halfway between there and Liberty Falls, and then we get a couple of maps in Liberty Falls itself as well. Whether these are in order, or we might interject between one map as they are heading towards, and then one map in Liberty Falls, one map where they're heading closer, one map, and then they join up at the end with whatever this elite unit is in Liberty Falls itself to try and stop if this group, if they are nefarious, and to try and break out Richtofen in the end. So I think we're going to stay in Liberty Falls for a while. I'm not sure if it's going to be all of the DLC maps, but I think we're definitely going to see some more here. I think it's very clear from all of this stuff that we see outside of Liberty Falls that there's a lot more going on than meets the eye. And also, like I said, maybe we're going to be getting more than 4 DLC maps. I do wonder. Maybe we're going to rotate between the crew that we had on Terminus, trying to get closer to wherever Richtofen is, as well as the elite unit, just operators. Maybe we're going to have a rotation between, you know, a simpler map like Liberty Falls and then a more complex map like Terminus every other season. In that case, maybe we could even see 6 DLC maps in the DLC. I think if we're getting an easier one and a harder one, that would probably be less strenuous on development. But like I say, I'm not sure if this is actually going to happen. I feel like if there was 6 in the DLC, 1 per season, Trek probably would have announced it because it would be a huge marketing point. But it is really interesting that they have announced that DLC 1's coming out before the end of the year, because if there's only going to be 4, that means there's going to be a huge gap at some point, a huge drought between some of the DLC because it is releasing so early. So that has me a bit suspicious. So yeah, maybe we're going to get 5 maps instead, you know, a common ground, you know, not 1 per season. There's just 1 season where we don't get a map. I think because, like I say, we've been sent in as this other group that we're going to fail to rescue him, and it's going to be in the DLC where we'll have to do so. Whether it's right at the end or earlier is unclear, but I'd imagine we explore the mansion further later on. Maybe we could have a couple more maps in Liberty and then a couple with the Terminus crew coming closer to where we are. I think it would be cool to see one even on Area 99 or a section of it or somewhere close, because that aesthetic is perfect for zombies, just like we saw with Newtown zombies in Black Ops 2. And whilst Trek have said that all of the DLC is just going to be round-based for Black Ops 6 zombies, in the menu it specifies round-based. If all of the content is just going to be round-based, why does this need to be pointed out? Now, since they've stated that they're just going to be focusing on round-based this year, we're not going to see anything like Outbreak or any major modes like that, but I think this doesn't rule out the chance of us seeing side modes, such as Onslaught. I really hope we see it. We saw a load of zombified multiplayer maps in Modern Warfare 2 and 3. Wouldn't it be perfect if they were to reuse them to see Onslaught in this game? Especially now they're using the Call of Duty HQ. It's so easy to transfer maps between games because they're all booting up from the same engine. I wonder if they could even do Grief, because if this elite unit is not the actual Janus operators, maybe at some point the real Janus operators are going to turn up, and that would be perfect for a Grief mode where it's the Janus operators versus whoever this elite unit are. Maybe that could even be what people found in the files of Modern Warfare 3 regarding a PvP mode. Maybe it's actually being saved for this game, especially because Liberty Falls looks so much like an Outbreak style map. It would work, I think, for a PvP mode. And Jingle Hells has also been found in the files, so it seems like it'll be back, so there's going to be some sort of Christmas mode. Now, the original Jingle Hells in Cold War Zombies really wasn't great, so hopefully it's going to be a lot better. When they ended up doing the Halloween event a year later, they seemed to learn from it, because that was a really awesome event, and they'll probably do a Halloween event again next year. Kevin Drew did say as well, after the success of the Halloween event, that they plan on doing much more in the future, so I think we're going to be seeing a lot more events and festivities. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this in the comments below. Thank you for watching the video. Make sure to subscribe if you're not here for latest and greatest Call of Duty news and information. So anyways, thank you for watching, and bye.